a group of people that tend to be viewed as being fairly innocent and well-meaning in our society, it's probably nuns. And while that is certainly true for thousands of sisters out there, that doesn't mean there aren't a few outliers. Welcome back everyone, my name is Kennedy, and today on Most Amazing we are counting down some of the most terrifying things nuns have said and in some cases committed. So get ready, because this is the top 10 horrifying last confessions from a nun. Starting us off at number 10, Sister Leticia Lopez. In the 90s, Sister Luz Granada was a well-known nun in Bogota, Colombia, who focused much of her work on aiding sex workers and addicts in the community. So when her mutilated body was found one day, shot, dismembered, and badly burned on the side of the road in a high-risk area, authorities initially assumed that the perpetrator had been one of the addicts or workers she was helping. They were, however, completely wrong. Sister Leticia Lopez was another nun that worked with Sister Granada. However, Sister Lopez reportedly openly looked down on Granada for the kind of people that she chose to help and associate with. And as it turns out, she was actually the one who committed the atrocity. In 2002, after being previously acquitted for the crime, the FBI became involved and discovered traces of blood in Sister Lopez's room that matched the late Sister Granada's, and she was ultimately sentenced to 14 years behind bars. Not only that, it's believed Lopez was a part of some kind of vigilante group responsible for the death of another 21 escorts and addicts in the area, which is certainly a breach of vows to say the least. Coming in at number 9, a lawsuit. It's not incredibly often that we find nuns tangled in the legal system, especially with a celebrity, but that is exactly what happened in 2015. What happened was Katy Perry had arranged and agreed to buy a former convent property from the LA Archdiocese that was for sale for $14.5 million. However, the deal ended up turning a bit sour after 2 nuns became involved. The nuns, Sister Catherine Rose and Sister Rita Callanan, got news of the deal and began to make a fuss over someone that they viewed as too provocative due to her songs like I Kissed a Girl and You're So Gay. Katy tried to rectify the situation by visiting the nuns, but even after singing a hymn to them and reportedly showing her tattoo of Jesus, they remained unconvinced. And that is when things got messy. The nuns decided to go behind the Catholic Archdiocese's back and privately sell the property to a restaurateur for more money. Now, the extremely wild part of this is that prior to a decision in court, one of the nuns actually died in the courtroom just hours after being interviewed by Fox 11 and pleading with Katy Perry to stop, which is just an insane series of events. In the end, Katy ended up winning the legal battle as the judge ruled that the nuns had no legal grounds to sell the property without the consent of the Archbishop and the Vatican. Coming in at number 8, Lucia of Fatima. Born in 1907, Sister Fatima rose to fame at the age of 10 after allegedly bearing witness to the Virgin Mary's apparition. Now, at first, her family assumed she was lying and often punished her for saying such things. However, she continued to insist that on the 13th of every month, the Holy Mother would visit her and tell her visions of the future. And eventually, she was believed after her visions appeared to be coming true. The first of the visions was a depiction of hell as told by the Virgin Mary, according to Sister Fatima. However, the second vision was what really scared the public. She revealed that while World War I will end, it would soon be followed by another great war after the death of Pope Pius VI, something that turned out to be true. As we all know, there was indeed a Second World War that began in September of 1939, and Pope Pius ended up dying in February of 1939. So, I mean, that is definitely a strange coincidence. Now, as far as the third secret she allegedly received from the Virgin Mary, Sister Fatima said that the final battle between God and the kingdom of Satan will be about family and marriage, so It's a little more vague, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see if her vision becomes more clear as time goes on. Coming in at number 7, demon nuns. In 1632, the Ursuline convent faced major concern after it appeared that all 17 of the nuns presiding inside claimed to have been possessed by a demonic entity. The demon in question was allegedly Asmodai, and the nuns of the convent say he was sent to commit evil and imprudent acts with them. As is recorded, the nuns were found convulsing, screaming, and barking, among other strange activities, and despite the priest Father Grandier's best interventions to exorcise the demons, the nuns remained haunted by the entity. However, things took a turn when the nuns began accusing the priest of being the one who summoned the demons in the first place. In the end, the court decided that the priest had made some kind of pact with the devil that allowed for the nuns to be possessed, and he was burned at the stake for his alleged witchcraft. Coming in at number 6, Sister Josefa Mendez. During her short life as a nun, Sister Mendez claims she was taken to see hell multiple times, and while she was initially very reluctant to write about the horrors she witnessed and experienced firsthand, eventually she came around to honor her Lord's wishes. The experiences she wrote about in her journal were terrifying, but the surprising point that she often repeated was that a lot of the torment surrounded the soul's inability to love. In fact, she wrote that one of those damned souls cried out, "This is my torture, that I want to love and cannot. There is nothing left for me but hatred and despair. If one of us could so much as make a single act of love, but we cannot. We live on hatred." As far as the torture she endured, she wrote, "My soul fell into abysmal depths, the bottom of which cannot be seen, for it is immense. Then I was pushed into one of those fiery cavities and pressed, as it were, between two burning planks, and sharp nails and red-hot iron seemed to be piercing my flesh. I felt as if they were endeavoring to pull out my tongue, but could not. This torture reduced me to such agony that my very eyes seemed to be starting out of their sockets." That is merely one of her entries on one visit. According to some of her last confessions, she was sent hundreds of times and claimed in her final entry that "all I have written is but a shadow of what the soul suffers, for no words can express such dire torments." Coming in at number 5, Sister Luc Gabrielle. In 1959, after years of declaring she would grow up to be a nun, Jean-Paul Marie Deckers joined a convent in Belgium and took on the name of Sister Luc Gabrielle. However, only a few years later, in 1962, her life changed forever after her fellow sisters convinced her to record and publish her music. By 1963, she had made #1 on music charts with her song Dominique, and the following year she landed a spot on the Ed Sullivan Show and gained notoriety as the singing nun. Tragically, however, the following years were difficult, and eventually she felt her two worlds were too different, and so Sister Gabrielle eventually felt forced to leave the convent in 1966. After leaving the convent, she was told she could no longer call herself the singing nun and was forced to change her stage name. Despite this, she remained a practicing Catholic, but challenged many thoughts of the church. She was speculated to be gay and released a song in favor of birth control, among other things. However, her career never really flourished. Tragically, as the years went by, Jean-Paul's mental health declined until in 1985, both her and her lifelong partner Annie Pechet took their lives together. In their final note, they requested to be buried by a Catholic church as they had remained faithful followers until their final day. I mean, honestly, this one might be more sad than horrifying, but still. Coming in at number 4, Sister Marie Inconnu. I guess this one is technically more of a lack of a confession. However, the result is truly horrifying nonetheless. According to a legend that dates back to the 18th century, there once was a nun named Sister Marie who requested she be transferred from France to Canada during the Acadian and British conflicts to help the Acadian people in eastern Canada. It's said that Sister Marie was a devoted nun, loved by all in the village, and that she was in charge of protecting a large sum of money that was intended to be used for assisting people in the community. And so, As the story goes, she decided to bury the money in order to make sure no one could ever steal it from her. However, one night after returning home late from assisting an ill villager, she was attacked by a group of sailors demanding to know where she had buried the money. Sister Marie refused to disclose the location she had hidden it, and as a result was viciously beheaded by the men. The next morning, the village was horrified to find their beloved nun dead in the street, but still her body was sent back to France to be laid to rest. Her head, however, was never found. Now modern day New Brunswick, it said she still haunts the area, and some claim to have seen a headless apparition asking them to help her find their head. Coming in at number 3, Sister Maria Gomez. A few years back in 2011, the Catholic Church in Spain went through a series of major allegations involving an underground adoption ring, and let me tell you, this one is a doozy. In short, what allegedly happened dates as far back as the early 1950s, and members of the Catholic Church, one of whom is believed to be Sister Maria Gomez, were illegally selling off newborns in exchange for massive sums of money. To make matters worse, it's suspected there have been around 2,000 cases of this, and the ring that Sister Gomez was allegedly involved in would reportedly lie to mothers and tell them that their new little bundle hadn't survived labor, present them with a decoy so that they could see they were not alive, and then sell off the real person to adoptive families. I mean, it's diabolical. Apparently, several parents came forward on their deathbeds confessing to their now adult sons and daughters the truth of how they acquired them, and many got DNA tests to confirm what they hoped would not be true. But sadly, their parents, who turned out to be their adoptive parents, were telling the truth. To date, the only person to be charged for the crime is Sister Maria Gomez, but there are sure to be countless others involved in the scandal. Coming in at number 2, Maria Monk. Author of the 1836 novel Awful Disclosures of Maria Monk, Monk became a well-known, if not blacklisted public figure after the release of her book. In it, she claimed that she experienced horrifying treatment under the priests at her convent that, if true, would be one of the most horrible things I could imagine. Allegedly, according to Maria, the nuns of her Montreal convent were forced and coerced into engaging intimately with the priests from the seminary next door, who would allegedly sneak into the convent through a secret underground tunnel. Now, here is where it gets even more messed up. Maria claims that if the union resulted in a new human being being brought into the world, that it would be baptized and then killed before being hidden in the basement, and that any uncooperative nun simply disappeared. Now, the thing with this confession is that it is largely believed by scholars to be a hoax, but also there isn't any definitive proof, so it could very well be just as terrifying as it sounds. And last up in our number 1 spot, Sister Godfrida. Also known as Cecile Bombeek, Sister Godfrida was a Catholic nun who devoted herself to the convent at age 15. Soon after she joined, she found her calling working with the elderly, and for decades she lived an uneventful life. That was until the 1970s, when 3 other nuns contacted the police after they noticed something strange going on in the nursing home. For a while, the nuns had been keeping a log of the patients the now Mother Superior dealt with, but they noticed that she strangely had a suspiciously high death rate among her patients. As it turns out, dear Mother Superior had a nasty habit and didn't actually like working with old people as much as she let on. Along with stealing around $30,000 from her elderly patients, Sister Godfrida eventually confessed to killing 3 patients with a fatal dose of insulin, claiming that they were too difficult to care for at night. Once they were dead, she stole their belongings to support her addiction, and while she only confessed to 3 killings, authorities have reason to believe she took the lives of as many as 30 people. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more content. I'll see you next time, friends.